So culture has a few principles. First, all of it is learned. None of it comes in the DNA. It is clearly learned. Many examples, but let me give you one from here at Notre Dame. A fellow called Yusaku Furuhashi taught marketing communication to me many years ago, fall of 1965. He and his wife Mitsu grew up in the north of Japan and then in the Kanto plain of Tokyo, and the two of them came to this country in the late 1950s. He earned a PhD at the University of Seattle in Washington and came to Notre Dame to teach marketing. He was a wonderful fellow. He and Mitsu had two lovely daughters born here in the United States, of course, U.S. citizens. Hugh and Mitsu became citizens. The girls looked astonishingly Japanese. Right? You really think about this. Mom's Japanese, dad's Japanese, even though they've become American citizens. These girls look like 100% Japanese because that's their DNA, right? But what about their culture? Those two girls were as American as Chevrolet, baseball, and apple pie. And when Dad and Mom would drag them to Japan once a year, the Japanese looked at those two girls and said, who are these people, right? They don't cover their mouths when they laugh. They look directly at you. They're loud. They're American teenagers. That's exactly who they are. They're as thoroughly American as you could imagine. It's a perfect example of how culture is learned. It does not come in the DNA. It doesn't matter who your parents were in terms of culture. You learn all of that. And I would add to that, you relearn much of it throughout your life. Culture is universal to human society. I mean, I hear periodically people say to my high school classmates, you have no culture. That's what your problem is. Well, they have a culture. You're just saying to them you don't like it, right? Culture is universal. We all have one. And in point of fact, I would say it is possible to become bicultural or multicultural. But the thing you need to know is that cultures constantly undergo change. It is the one thing I think most infuriating to old people. And I know quite a few of them, as I think I am one. Culture doesn't remain the same. Things change. The only thing constant is change itself. And if you like things the way they are, good, because they're not going to be that way for long. Make a note. Your ability to succeed is a matter of adaptation. I will say the world you create for yourself is going to be easier to live in than a world created for you by somebody else. So you can associate with people who are changing in a way that you find interesting. You can associate with multiple people, some of whom are changing in very different ways. Organizations provide that opportunity. Parts of the world provide that opportunity. And so do friends and associates. So think about how the cultural norms you find most interesting and valuable are undergoing change. Some cultures change more quickly than others, and I would say, by and large in the United States, metropolitan areas, particularly coastal metropolitan areas, change a bit more quickly than others. You could find the city of Los Angeles changing in ways you would never have predicted between now and tomorrow at noon. But if you went out into the desert to Vacaville, Barstow, or Needles, not very far away, maybe 75, 100 miles away, it's 1954, right? With the possible exception of cell phones and maybe some LED lighting, the cities of Vacaville, Barstow, and Needles don't appear to have changed much at all. I had the same experience recently when I was teaching in London. I went back up to Cambridge, took the train up and visited my college, Christ College, walked around the city of Cambridge. It's really a town. And I concluded that very, very little had changed. The one thing that did change is that they swapped out all the people. I didn't know a soul. There was no one at my old college who was there when I was there in the 70s. There was no one in any of the restaurants or in the bookshops or anywhere else who had been there any more recently than the 1990s. And yet, the place looked very much the same. The norms were the same. The language sounded very much the same. People behaved in that way. And I saw that as I was walking back to college from a restaurant. I saw a girl, probably an undergrad, 19, 20 years old, sitting on a stone fence waiting for a bus, reading a book. In London, she'd have been looking at her phone. In the U.S., absolutely, head down looking at the phone. I don't know if it's bad Wi-Fi up there or what, but I was really pleased to see her reading a book.